Hello, viewers. Welcome to the YouTube channel of Life and More. Today we have with us journalist Prince Mathews Thomas. He's the author of the book S.I.S Story. The book traces the journey of SIS Group Enterprises, which began with a simple mission to help ex-servicemen find employment. But with time, it went on to become one of India's largest security and business services firms. And today it has presence across several countries. And in this book, Prince has gone beyond the numbers to explore how vision, discipline, and values built this billion-dollar enterprise. Welcome, Mr. Matthew.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. So let us start with the first basic obvious question.
Uh,
Why did this SIS pick your imagination? Like, why did you want to write about it?
it so happened that I have known Mr. R.K. Sinha and Rituraj. And Mr. R.K.
Mm,
Sinha, as he was the founder of SIS. And Rituraj Sinha is his son and the present group managing director. So, as a journalist, when I was at Forbes India magazine earlier, this is about
mm,
12 years ago, uh,
mm,
I I had written a story on them, and uh,
mm,
and since then, so the past about 12, 13 years, I've been tracking both Mr. Sinha,
mm,
Rituraj, and the way the company has grown over these years. And
mm,
their journey has been a fascinating story. I mean, it's an inspiring one if you look at the way Mr. Sinha started and where SIS is today. So that was
mm,
surely always a book material. And in fact, in my first
mm,
book, which called The Consolidators, that book was about
mm.
second generation entrepreneurs. And I had written one
Okay.
of the chapters was on Rituraj. So I was well
Okay.
aware of the SIS journey and the growth of SIS through these two generations of the Sinha family. And I
Mm,
always thought there is a separate book that is there on SIS because the history is very rich. It spans
mm,
across decades. It spans across also the way India as an economy has evolved and developed. And
mm,
from where it started as a small garage unit in Bihar, in Patna, to where it is
mhm,
today, a multinational across countries. It has a very, very rich material for a book. So it was always an interest for me. And then
mm.
this was the 50th anniversary of SIS since the foundation.
Okay.
So it was a good landmark for a book to come out and then talk about the
Okay.
whole journey. So that's how the whole interest in the book and also Rituraj's interest in getting, having the story to be told about SIS
Okay.
all came together.
Okay. 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 So while you said that you've known Rituraj since long, but for to write a book, you need a lot of research into the subject you are writing on.
That's
So
true.
what kind of research did you do, and was it how challenging was it?
Yeah, it was challenging because one, the time that was there was very short.
Mm,
Usually, a book
okay.
of this magnitude can take about 2 years to fructify. But this one was done from start to finish within a year, in less than a year. And
Mm,
and because it was about, so one, the time was short. That was one challenge. Second, because this book was about the whole journey of a company through its 50 years, which meant that I
mm,
also needed to speak to a lot of people. So these are people who, along with Mr. Sinha, were among the earliest employees who continue to be there, and then a lot of people who came and joined together, people who have done business with SIS and have been associated with it during all these many important milestones through the years.
mm.
So within a month or so, I spoke to around nearly 50 people for the story. And
Okay.
each conversation was very deep because many of these people had themselves spent 20, 30, 40 years in SIS. So they themselves had a
Okay.
lot to share about their experience. And
mm,
so there were a
mm,
lot of details. So each
mm,
conversation had a lot of details. So at the end of it, which conversations itself took about 2 months, I was doing one interview almost every day. And then
mm,
eventually I met Mr. Sinha, and then I met Rituraj, had multiple conversations with him. I met other members of the family and senior leadership. So the end of it, I had almost 60, 70 hours of interviews to be heard and digested and to understand what to keep and how to structure that. So all
mm,
of that needed a lot of time, lot of mind space. So yeah, so that was quite challenging. How to because the challenge in a book like this is also to not keep it very long, because something
mm,
that is very long will also kind of deter the interest of the reader. So the as
mm,
a writer, the challenge is how to compress this rich history of SIS in a way
mm,
that it is engaging. It is something that people learn and learn from, because this book kind of will appeal to a lot of different sets of people. So when I started writing, the challenge was that how do I structure this so that it's not too long, but also does justice to the journey of SIS, does
mm,
justice to what Mr. Sinha has done in setting up the foundation, and the
mm,
changes that came in after, Rituraj came in, Mr. And also the other senior officials who came in, and many
mm,
milestones through the years.
mm,
So that is a challenge. And then, of course, writing a book is a different challenge altogether. That itself took me about 2, 3 months, which is actually not
mm.
too long. But like I said, the time was short, and we had a stiff deadline. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said that you did almost one interview a day. That means 60 interviews. And
Yeah.
then you interviewed the founder and then his son and other senior management people. So
Yeah.
was there a particular story that stood out from among all of these? One thing that somehow you felt this is the heart of the story.
Yeah, I know there's so many stories because,
Mhm.
and I say there's so many stories, and it's difficult to pick one because,
Mm,
one is the story of Mr. Sinha because, like I say in the book, he started off as a journalist, and
mm,
he was covering, he covered wars, he covered a lot of political movements, he covered the emergency, and it was a social call from a political leader named Jayaprakash Narayan, at the time a very
mm,
big personality in Indian politics. Today also he is quite
mm,
remembered for his contribution. It was a social call from him that led to Mr. Sinha set up a unit to help retired army people. At that time also he didn't think of it as a business. He thought it's a way to help people. It's just that the requirement was so much and the demand was so much that with time he understood that he needed to structure it like a business
So it
to make it
started as
fulfill.
a social. So it
Yes,
started as a social work.
correct. Correct. It
Okay.
was more like a social
Mm,
cause. And because
mm,
demand was so much, he needed to structure it. Then there were local
mm,
policies and rules that he had to adhere to make sure that everything goes on well. So slowly,
mm,
it organically took a form of a business. And when you
mm,
have a business, then you want to do well. So I think
mm,
Mr. Sinha, the story of Mr. Sinha is very endearing because the way he was not an MBA student. He was not from
mm,
a business family. Uh,
mm,
Yet, through the journey, when you read the book, you realize that a lot of decisions that he took, it's pure entrepreneurship. The gut feeling that you do, you take risks, and you do things that normal people don't do. And of course, he had the energy, the passion to do all of this. He could easily connect with people, and this
mm,
business is very people oriented. Like I start the
mm,
book with, SIS employs more than 3 lakh people. So people are at the heart of this business.
mm,
And so I think the story of Mr. Sinha itself is quite inspiring, and that's one
mm.
half of the book that is there. So that is
Okay.
surely one very enduring, inspiring book, that I mean
Mm,
story that is there in the book about him,
mm.
Mr. Sinha himself.
Yeah. And you said that it began as a social, it began with a social cause.
Correct.
Does SIS retain that thing still, or it is now purely a business house, or do they
It's very
retain
good
that
question,
social
actually.
thing?
Yeah. It started as a social cause. The cause was to help retired army people find jobs.
Hmm.
And security was one area where even today, if you see a lot of retired army people, they do
Yeah.
get jobs in security.
Hmm.
But his was to make it more streamlined because he understood that there was some very basic decisions. One, you bring in retired army people, there's a lot of advantages because they come with a very disciplined routine. They are
Hmm.
physically, mentally very fit and capable of taking up responsibilities. At the same time,
Hmm.
they retired army personnel. They also are very reactive in the way they work. And security as a
Hmm.
business is something where you have to estimate what is going to happen and make sure that things don't get out of hand. So,
Hmm.
with time, he also brought in a lot of people from outside, professionals, and that is
Okay.
where the mix of both came in. So there is one social good where you are providing employment to people, and
Hmm.
overall these years, if you look at who are the employees of SIS, these are the people who are some of them are high school pass outs, some of them are graduates.
Okay.
They are people who have probably have tried looking for jobs in the army or police department or some government job, and then they come to the security industry because here the barriers of entry is very low. So
Hmm.
providing employment to people who are struggling to get jobs, and we are talking
Hmm.
about Bihar of 1970s and 80s, where getting jobs was very difficult. There was industry, but also there was a lot of problem with industries. Uh,
Hmm.
so, so providing employment to people right at the lower rung of the society, that continues.
Hmm.
That very much
Okay.
continues, and it's just that there's a lot of training involved. There's a lot of resources that are spent to make them
Hmm.
capable to do the job. At the same time, it
Hmm.
can't sustain unless it's a business, and if it is unless it is profit making. So
Hmm.
that has
Hmm.
gone hand in hand. One is the social cause, which continues to today. Second, to make sure that
Hmm.
it's a profitable business so that it doesn't
Hmm.
collapse. Because one
Hmm.
thing about security business is that hundreds of security companies are formed in 1 year. Nearly as
Hmm.
many of them also closed down. So that's a big problem with the security industry. But SIS has managed to
Hmm.
really survive and become the biggest in India.
Hmm. And what about ex-servicemen? Do they still get jobs for them, or now
Oh
it is like
yes.
only poor and jobless people?
No. Even today, ex-servicemen
Hmm.
continue to be employed in SIS. The only difference
Okay.
is today, right from the entry levels till a very
Hmm.
senior level, there are
Hmm.
ex-servicemen. There are ex-servicemen who
Hmm.
are, at the not the non-officer rank. There are
Okay.
servicemen who are of the officer rank today. So right
Hmm.
through the
Hmm.
organization, there are army people. Just that the proportion of that army people would be much lower today than what it was 50 years ago. There
Okay.
are other kind of
Okay.
other professionals also who have joined from outside or who have grown up by themselves within the company.
Okay. Okay. And the founder, Ravindra Kishore Sinha, he calls
Right.
himself an accidental entrepreneur.
That's right.
Is he
That's
really the one?
He was because the way he started,
Hmm.
because he was a journalist, he had never had an
Hmm.
intention to become a businessman, and he was not
Hmm.
trained to be a management person. He
Hmm.
had, his interest was more towards the humanities part of the academy. and
Hmm.
um, and one, he was not trained, he was not from a business family. If you are from a business family,
Hmm.
as you grow up, the conversations around you
Hmm.
are all about business. So you get
Yeah.
trained by that itself, by listening to your family members, the senior members. You learn about the
Hmm.
business, but that was not the case with Mr. R.K. Sinha. So he was an
Hmm.
accidental entrepreneur because like we
Mm,
discussed just now. It was just a social call
mm.
that he adhered to, and that slowly took the shape of a business.
Mhm. So, in his words, like while you talk to him, what did
Mhm.
he say about like? Was there any time when he felt that no, no, I cannot do this. This is not
Mhm.
my cup of tea, because
Mhm.
running a business is not a small thing.
It's not.
It's a huge job.
Yeah.
So, what was his personal viewpoint about it? Uh, when he faced challenges, when he faced difficulties, because as you said, there was no
Yeah.
businessman in his family, so he didn't have
Yeah.
any exposure. He didn't have the natural required education as well, like an
Mhm.
MBA or something.
Correct.
A
Correct.
rank outsider coming into business.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
were there any points of time when he felt that no, no, it's getting too much now, I can't do it?
There were a lot of challenges. Actually, he was a rank outsider, as you said very correctly. But what one thing he did well was that he could identify people with talent and potential and with experience. And he surrounded himself with people who were smarter than him in a lot of things, which he or himself didn't know about. So if it was for training, if it was about
Hmm.
finance, if it was about technology, he always surrounded himself with people who knew about the subject much more than him. And
Hmm.
the good thing about him, which was entrepreneurial about him, was that his instinct was so strong that if he was advised, these people, smart people around him, they would advise him on various things. As an entrepreneur, he had the I don't know, it was by instinct that entrepreneurs do this, that he could say that okay, this is a risky thing, but I'll take the risk and I'll implement it. Like the decision to start a training school in early 1980s. Nowhere in India
Hmm.
had any security company opened a training academy for security personnel, and not just in
Hmm.
India, not even in Asia or world over had anyone done this. But
Okay.
someone told him that we need consistently trained people because our the needs of our customers are changing, and we need to train our people so that they are qualified enough to address to those requirements. And that's how he
Hmm.
started a training academy in 1984. And then 2 years later, he started an officers training course also there. So
Okay.
decisions like that, SIS was the first in the country first in the security industry at least to introduce computers. And this was in the
Okay.
1980s, where computer was it was almost
Not
like
heard of.
yeah, it was almost like
Hmm.
science fiction. But he had the
Hmm.
foresight to say that technology will be important because as business scales, it's not easy
Hmm.
to do everything manually. For instance,
Hmm.
even for the payroll of the employee, it would take them 3-4 days
Hmm.
to process everything. But with
Hmm.
computers, they could do it within hours. So he understood.
Hmm.
As an entrepreneur, I think what was really set him apart was that he understood the requirements of the business, and he surrounded
Hmm.
himself with people who could tell him what he should be doing, and he could tell.
Hmm.
And his decision making was really excellent. He would
Hmm. Hmm.
doing this academy, bringing in computers, and then venturing
Hmm.
out of Bihar. That is also very unusual
Hmm.
for a security company because most security companies
Hmm.
are based in a neighborhood, in a city.
Hmm.
But he went out of
Hmm.
Bihar, went to Calcutta, then moved to Delhi. That all these,
Hmm.
I think, yeah. So to answer your question, there are a lot of challenges, but I think the
Hmm.
way he did his business and did it so differently from what it had been done till then, that kind of
Hmm.
kept SIS going.
Hmm. Hmm. And what for me is really remarkable, that he, like you said, that he surrounded himself with people who were more intelligent than him. Normally,
Correct.
people don't do that. They feel
Yeah,
insecure hiring
that's
intelligent
true.
people or more qualified
That's
people.
true. That's
So
true.
that was something.
Yes.
Do all businesses do that?
I think entrepreneurs do that. Many of the entrepreneurs, I think, especially the first generation, when they are building a business, they come with an understanding that they know some part of the business, but they don't know everything about it. So they need to
mm,
get talent from within or outside, groom talent from within or get talent from outside to grow the business. I think uh,
mm,
some entrepreneurs understand that, and they are the ones who actually go on to scale their business, build a big business out
mm.
of what they started. I think that's
Yes,
a rare quality to have. It is a rare quality.
quality. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So you've described like key points like acquisitions. You talk about international expansions. You talk about liberalization.
Yeah.
So if you had to pick up like one moment that defined SIS transformation, which one it would be?
I think one was to expand the home market beyond Bihar, like we already mentioned.
Okay.
They went to
Hmm.
other parts of Bihar and then to West Bengal and then moved to Delhi and
Hmm.
consolidated a bit in northern India. And then, later on, many years later, they also expanded in south. What that did is that it got them a lot more exposure, got them more clients, and the whole network got
Hmm.
expanded. Second, of course, was the international growth, because
Hmm.
this particular acquisition of in Australia, which came in after Rituraj, and Rituraj had already joined. I'm sorry, Rituraj had already joined the business, and then Mr. Uday
Hmm.
Singh, who was known to Mr. R.K. Sinha from their childhood, and Mr. Uday
Okay.
Singh had then gone on to have a very very successful corporate life. He later
Okay.
on joined SIS, and
Hmm.
three of them, Mr. Sinha as the chairman, Mr. Uday Singh, and then Rituraj, they played a very
Hmm.
instrumental role in this huge acquisition that they did in Australia. And that
Hmm.
really was the fuel of the growth. I mean, this happened in the mid 2000s. And then since then, because of the acquisition, they have really grown very, very well. So
Hmm.
this international foray with the Australian acquisition was very, very crucial.
Hmm. Turning point for
It
the
was a
more
turning point.
international collaborations. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, there were a lot of joint ventures that happened after that. Yes, absolutely.
Hmm. Hmm. So, like we see that there are many companies who lose their sort of soul. Like they begin with one mission and then they they grow. They went on to become something. They go on to become something entirely different.
Yeah.
But what did like these Sinhas do that they could preserve the values, the soul intact?
Yeah, it's a very very important question, because you're correct. Very often first generation entrepreneurs, they come with a philosophy, with a culture, and as the
Hmm.
company scales, and as the first generation gives way to the second and the third, many of these
Hmm.
companies, as they expand, spread, they lose their soul, that culture that the
Hmm.
entrepreneur came up with.
Hmm.
What sets apart SIS is that Mr. Sinha had this family culture within
Hmm.
SIS, and what that meant is that he had a very personal connection with all the security personnel in SIS. In the
Okay.
early days, he would travel from Patna by road, by train, go to
Hmm.
all these off-site places where his personnel were deployed in various factories, mines, and he would spend 2 3 days with them, camp with them, cook food. He used to cook khichdi for them, and he would
Okay.
talk to them as if he is talking to his own family people. And he had
Hmm.
this amazing memory. He meets one person today, he would go back to the same site or meet the same person 6 months later or a year later. He would ask them, how are you, how is your daughter, has she any important milestones in the family, has she cleared her exams, how's your wife doing,
Hmm.
your parents, how is their health. He would remember their names. So this was an amazing quality that he had, which helped him connect with people on the ground. And
Hmm.
they had full access to him. When the time of
Hmm.
phones came in, security guards in SIS would call up Mr. Sinha and share their problems, and he would make sure that their problems were heard and also responded to. So this culture that he created was passed on to Rituraj when he came in. And this,
Okay.
and also the training academy that I mentioned, while the
Hmm.
training was on also, this was a big part of the training also, where they were told about this culture. They were, Mr. Sinha would take classes for them. And at the moment they entered SIS as a full-time employee, they understood
Hmm.
how the company functioned. So this family culture, which started with Mr. Sinha and which Rituraj today continues to have, is
Hmm.
the kind of the
Hmm.
center, the kind of the central point of keeping everything together. And it's
Hmm.
and what's good thing is that they have now used technology to make sure that culture is there. They use
Really.
technology. They do different kinds of apps to train people to keep connected.
Hmm.
And also, if you look at that, they were the among the earliest in the industry to really regularize employment terms, be it the
Okay.
benefits for people, post-retirement benefits, people who lost their lives during service, what happens to their families. There's so many instances in the book itself. I have said where Mr. Sinha or Rituraj, they would travel to the family, make sure that the last rites were done, give them financial support. uh, all of this created that culture which continues to be today. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
so this is the fulcrum on which this company is built here.
Hmm. Okay. You said that any security guard could pick up phone or get in
Yeah,
direct touch with the Sinhas.
yeah.
But what about the in between rung of bosses?
Mhm.
Doesn't it create like animosity among the like immediate bosses or the second boss, like
Mhm.
a security guard directly connecting with the boss, top boss?
So I think the because these bosses themselves, in many cases in SIS today, who are vice presidents, presidents, CEO, many of them have also come up the ladder. They would have
Okay,
started. Yeah, they would have started the
as a
journey
guard.
as a guard, some of them as guards, some
Okay.
of them in the finance section, some of them in the other functions, and they have
Mm,
grown. So you will see a lot of old timers in SIS, people who have spent 30, 40
mm,
years in the system.
mm,
So they have grown looking at this culture. They have understood this culture because they also once had this access to Mr. Sinha. So they
mm,
understand that. But the challenge
mm.
is when new talent comes laterally, not
Mm.
everyone starts from ground down.
Yeah,
So yes,
yeah.
for them, I'm sure it must be initially a kind of a learning period about how does this culture work, right?
Mm,
So I think there
mm,
would be a learning time for everyone who joins laterally in mid management or senior management. But I think when it comes to the efficacy of it, about how it really works for them and for their business, I think everyone is sold out on this. And the
okay.
interesting thing is, now Rituraj gets those calls. Now,
Mm,
the thing is, there are 3 lakh people, and so not so it's impossible for a human to take so many calls and address every issue.
yeah.
So they have
Mm,
used technology today. So it's an AI, artificial intelligence enabled call center,
okay.
where someone
Mm.
calls, the call is answered, and the sound is of Rituraj.
Okay.
And they make sure that each and every call is recorded. There is a system
Mm,
where the complaints or the feedback are noted down and it is responded to. At the same time,
okay.
while this is there, Rituraj continues to take calls. His mother takes calls
Mm,
from service people, his sister.
okay.
So that family continues
Okay.
to have that culture.
Mm,
At the same time, they have used technology also to make sure that people who miss getting access or maybe haven't been able to
mm,
talk to Rituraj, their queries are also addressed. So they've used both now,
mm.
human touch and the technology.
Okay. Okay. So, as a journalist, see, you are trained to like see things as an outsider.
Absolutely.
You see things from outside, and then you like objectively, without any emotions, you write a story.
Yeah.
But how did you navigate such a story, which is deeply personal?
Yeah, so that's And so that's the part which sets this story about, this book about apart.
mm,
This book is not always about good things about SIS or good things about Mr.
mm,
Sinha or good things about Rituraj. We have talked about
mm,
failures. We have talked about
mm,
setbacks in the business, because even though by 2000 the business had scaled, SIS had grown from Bihar to Delhi to other parts of the country, it was still struggling financially. And that is very well chronicled in the book. And when
mm,
Rituraj joined and Mr. Uday Singh joined the company, there were many
mm.
instances where salary payments to employees would get deferred.
Okay.
1 month, 2 months. There have been times where people haven't got their salaries for 3 months at a time. All this is chronicled in the book. And there were also, while this was one challenge, we have written about this in the book, there were other challenges that Rituraj faced. We talked about the successful Australian deal, but there were many others
Mm,
deals that didn't happen, which ended up in failure.
mm,
So we have chronicled that too. Um, a second generation joining a business where he surrounded, and he joined the business when he was Rituraj joined when he was about 22, 23 years old. So he's a very youngster, just out of
mm,
college.
mm, mm,
And he's
mm,
surrounded by people who worked with his father. And it's not
mm.
necessary that everyone would give him the respect that they would give his
Yeah.
father. So there was that was also challenging. That is also what that also I have written in the book. How he
Mm,
faced that challenge of convincing people much senior to him that they would,
mm,
that he's good enough for the work, for the job. He's not
mm,
there just because he's the owner's son, but also because
mm,
he also has skill. He also wants to do
mm,
business. He wants to grow the company,
mm,
and how
mm,
the challenge for him was to gain that respect from the senior colleagues that he had. So that was
mm,
another challenge that I write about. So
mm,
I mean, I have to commend both Mr. Sinha and Ruturaj that they were open to discussing these difficult parts of their journey also. And
mm,
that's what I
mm,
think sets this book apart from other books that feature a company or an entrepreneur, because we are talking about the tough challenges, the failures, the difficulties
mm,
in the journey also. So for me
mm.
as an
So what?
outsider, that made it easier for
Mm,
me.
okay. Okay. So what was more tough? Writing it emotionally or writing it structurally?
Yeah, the toughest part for me was that each person had so many SIS stories to tell. How do I do the justice for the
Sip.
time they spent with me? Right. So
Okay.
there was so much of passion, and there was so much of
Mm,
emotion because people had spent 20, 30 years of their time here, 30, 40 years.
mm,
And there was so much invested in SIS. And many of them whom I spoke to, their lives and their families' type have changed because of their association with the company. So the challenge
mm,
for me was to how to do justice for this, because if
mm,
I start writing about each and every person, it becomes not an SIS story. It becomes like people's story.
mm,
So that is the balance
mm.
that I had to uh, keep intact. So there is emotion in this book, but also I have to look at it as also like a business
Business,
uh,
yeah.
story. Yeah. So there has to be lessons in management, important decisions that didn't work out. What were the challenges? So for to bring all of that, I had to look at it very structurally and very objectively. Otherwise, there's no
Mm.
way I could write 50 years of a company's history in about 250 270 pages. Very difficult.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it is difficult.
Yeah.
And leaving out the parts, maybe some of the parts were initially very dear to you, but you had to leave them out,
Yes.
seeing the volume of the book.
Yes. Very much.
Okay, like you said that there were many people stories that came out when you spoke
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
So, is there any, uh, or are there any particular people stories that you think make another book, can make another book?
Oh yes, I think. I mean, well, I haven't thought about that, but if you look at the people stories of SIS
Hmm.
and the stories that I have been told and which I haven't written, they make for very colorful reading, because
Mm.
these are experiences of people working in really remote places, facing all different kinds of challenges. These challenges of working in very difficult conditions, winter, extreme heat, extreme climatic conditions. It's of people who face a lot of violence because they are working in a security in industries, in mines, where there are local
Mm.
gundas, local mafias. So there are a lot
Okay.
of stories about how they countered this, and some of the stories, two, three stories, I have included in the book also.
Mm.
But there are so many. I mean, people. There are people
Mm.
who had guns pointed on their foreheads. There are people who
Okay.
had their family were also in trouble. So there are a lot of stories like that, and also very personal stories about how their families, like I said, really changed through the years when they worked in SIS. Some of them even
Mm.
married, and that kanyadan was done by Mr. Sinha and his wife because their own
Mm.
families were against the wedding. So a lot of stories like that are there in
Mm.
the that I've heard.
So do you think that all those stories can make another book? Human,
They could,
but this is a business
they could
story,
actually,
but
they
that
could,
is a like
yeah.
they
The
could.
people's story, yeah. The
You
people's
open to, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So see, if what message does this SIS story has for a young entrepreneur, or maybe a person who wants to do business?
Right.
What can he learn? What is there for him to learn from the SIS story?
Absolutely. Though Mr. Sinha started his business 50 years ago, and conditions have changed a lot. India of 1975 is not the India of 2025.
2025.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2025. But the conditions, the challenges that a first time entrepreneur faces are very similar. You know, how to set
Okay.
up a business, what are the important decisions, financing, what are the things to take care of when you're starting a business. And then after the first 2 3 years, if you have survived that, how to scale a business, what are the important management decisions that you do, how do you create a team, how do you create an organization, how do you develop a culture, uh, what is the role of financing. you know
Mm.
Many of these questions are answered in this book. So anyone who
Okay.
is a management student, or who is starting a business, or a second generation entrepreneur, or someone even at the mid management level. For
Mm.
instance, Mr. Uday Singh's experience himself, an outsider who came in as a as a CEO, and how he gelled with a family business, but also helped it professionalize. So how do you professionalize a
Mm.
family business? Anyone who wants to understand that, I mean, there's a lot in the book to learn on that aspect too. So this book is
Mm.
I think, and anyone who is interested in history, India of 1975, from license rounds to liberalization to the opening of the economy, becoming the third largest economy, Indian economy has evolved, and SIS has evolved through these years. It has grown along with India.
Mm.
So I think it's a lesson also in business history. So I think there's a lot
Mm.
for everyone in this book to learn, and yeah,
Mm.
I think if nothing, it's an entertaining book just to read it. Yeah.
So SIS story is also reflecting. You mean to say that SIS story is also reflecting the larger story of uh, India's economic rise?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because from license Raj to when the Indian economy opened up, it is around the same
Mm.
time when SIS also ventured out of Bihar, went to other parts of the country, and how it
Mm.
started from just being a guarding company, it diversified to pest management, facilities management, to cash
Mm.
management. And cash management happened when the Indian financial industry expanded.
Mm.
So all that,
Mm.
one at a time, you can see the way the Indian economy is also evolving in the background once you
Mm.
read the book.
Mm.
And then very two important recent milestones. One was the demonetization,
Mhm.
and then the pandemic. How that
Mm.
also impacted industry and social life. That is also
Mm.
two separate chapters in the book which delve very deep into it. So yes, so it's like a, and then Indian companies becoming big, them going out and acquiring big companies, which SIS also
mm,
did. And
mm,
then Indian companies becoming multinational companies, which SIS is also one today. It's almost like the mirrors the evolution of Indian economy.
mm. You just mentioned about pandemic. It's
Yeah.
something somehow it skipped my mind. Uh, did pandemic impact them?
Oh yes, because this was a people-to-people industry, so where the personal
Mm,
contact is very much there. So something like a
mm,
pandemic disrupts the business right at the heart of it. In fact, one of the
mm,
challenges that Rituraj faced was that when the pandemic hit, all the clients said they're shutting down their offices, they're shutting down their
mm,
industries. So without offices, without industries, there's no need for security. So which means there is no need for SIS. So there was a
mm,
moment for Rituraj where he was wondering, how do I pay salaries of my employees? Because suddenly
mm,
money stopped coming. There is no cash being
mm.
generated. So that was a big moment of existential crisis, kind of a moment for
Crisis.
SIS, uh,
Mm,
and uh, and the role that Rituraj played in making sure that SIS not only survived this pandemic but played a huge role in the way it actually became a tool for the larger government also to make sure that the pandemic didn't impact the lives of people, or at least help the people during the pandemic.
mm,
And one big thing was that because of Rituraj's intervention and lot
mm,
of engagement with the government, this
mm,
personal security services has also became an essential service. And essential service means then they could also go to the offices, they could open up the factories, they could travel, because
mm.
if you remember, there's a lot of restrictions in traveling. You couldn't go from one
Yeah.
city to the other, or you
Mm,
couldn't cross the
yeah.
border of one district to the other.
Mm,
So by becoming an
mm,
essential service, they could start doing that. So pandemic was
mm,
a huge challenge for them, and the way they came out of it is that one chapter that I write.
mm.
It is an amazing experience. Yeah.
There were no retrenchments.
That was the excellent thing. Not only did was there no retrenchment in SIS, in the first
Mm,
month itself, Rituraj said
mm,
every SIS employee would get, I forget the amount, I think it was 2000 rupees or 5000 rupees as advance. So that, because everyone is buying grocery in bulk,
yeah.
and people at the lower ranks, they don't have enough money to buy groceries in bulk. So they
Mm,
transferred money. I think it was 2000, 5000 rupees or something that was transferred to each
okay.
person so
Mm,
that they could buy grocery for their ration for their family. Uh,
mm,
there was no retrenchment, there was no pay cuts, there was no sent on leave kind of a thing, which was very normal that time. In fact, they set up a welfare fund which helped
mm,
people take the vaccines. They almost within a few months' time, almost 5 lakh vaccines were given, not just for the employees, for their family members also. People
okay.
who were infected, who needed oxygen, that was supplied to them. So yeah, so people were amazed that I there's so many employees who said that one, I remember one lady saying that her neighbors were asking her, "Ki, which company you are working that there is no job cut but you are getting money in advance and there is no pay cut." So yeah, that was amazing. Despite the challenges
Mm,
that SIS faced during that time, there was no job cut, there was no pay cut.
mm, mm, mm. So, as we come to an end of this SIS story, uh, I want to ask you, what is one key takeaway from the story for you on a personal level?
I think for a personal level, I think the story of SIS is about surviving, about doing
Mm,
things differently. And by
mm,
surviving and doing things differently, you actually prosper. And that's how SIS has been. I mean, when Mr. Sinha started off, no one thought that he will make a success out of a company. He was an accidental
mm,
entrepreneur. He did
mm,
things differently. So not only did And during all the challenges where it was struggling financially or some deals weren't happening, or during the pandemic or during demonetization, there were phases in these years where there was a struggle where SIS had to survive, but it somehow managed not only to survive but use that opportunity to actually grow even bigger. And that's the lesson, I think, of SIS, where that you do socially, you are still continuing to do good. At the same time, you are making sure that you are making profits to make a sustainable business. So I think that's what one lesson that I learned from both the lives of Mr. Sinha and what Rituraj is doing today in SIS, and the stories of all the people who have been. Like Mr. Uday Singh says, SIS is a story of very ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And I think that really defines the SIS story of ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
So it's like when a challenge knocks your door, grow
Correct.
through it and not bow down to it. Bow to
Yes,
it.
yes. Exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And there have been a lot of challenges
And
like that in SIS history.
hmm, hmm. So, what do we expect next book from you? What are you busy currently with?
Oh, I'm just living the SIS story right now. But
Okay.
surely, I think this was my second book. I would love to
Hmm.
do similar books, books that are at the intersection of business history, entrepreneurship, and management
Hmm.
lessons. Would like to do surely more of this. Yes,
Hmm. And like a bit of personal, some of personal questions for you. What's
surely.
your writing style? What is your, how do you write? Like, do you
I
have a specific
Yeah,
time or a specific corner? You have some set
yeah.
things that you need
Music helps me.
this for writing.
Music helps me. I listen to music while I
Okay.
write.
Hmm.
Some people write overnight. I can never do that. I write through the day. I
Okay.
structure it. Give myself targets. Like for instance, for the book, my target was to finish so many words, or this part of the chapter today. So I would have
Okay.
set small targets for me, and then
Hmm.
I would approach it. And then my general overall writing style has been to bring a character at the center of the story, because if you have a
Hmm.
personality in the middle of the story, and
Hmm.
that helps in connecting with the readers, that brings the
Hmm.
color, everything in the story out. So just like a movie has a hero, a villain, a heroine, different characters, I think even in a business story, if you bring out characters, I think
Hmm.
that helps in telling the story.
Okay. Okay. And what you are doing when you are not writing?
I'm a managing editor at the Morning Context. It's a
Okay.
6-year-old business news platform. So we write
Okay.
in-depth, research-driven business
Hmm.
stories on listed companies, on startups and technology. I've been a business journalist for the past 22 years.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Hmm.
that's what my present
So
role
how do
is.
you find time to write your own, like, I would call writing a book like it's your passion or
Yeah,
something? Your
yeah,
another passion is that you are doing a proper
yeah.
journalistic job. How do you
Correct.
balance the two? How do you find
It's
time?
very tough. It's very tough
Hmm.
because being a managing editor of a publication is a full time job.
Hmm.
So what I would do was that weekends was a time where I would devote myself in writing the book. It
Hmm.
wasn't easy for me or for my family, because a lot of weekends, my children, I would be at my desk and they would be thinking when I will come out of that. So yeah, it was, and like I said, the deadline was short. There was a stiff timeline to publish the book and give the first draft.
Hmm.
So I just had about a window of about 2 to 3 months to write the book.
Hmm.
So that's what I did. Most of the
Hmm.
weekends, any free time I would get, most of the
Hmm.
weekends, Saturday, Sunday, I would devote writing the book.
Okay. Okay. So one last question.
Surely.
What would you advise a business journalist? Because you have
Mhm.
been a business journalist for long
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
And what would be your suggestion to an upcoming author?
sure. First, the business journalist. I think any journalist, be it business or otherwise, needs to have curiosity. I think that is the very, very basic thing that we lack. Because if you're curious, you read something or hear something, you would want to know more. And as you seek for more information, you will come across a lot of new things that you can write about. You will unravel things, you will understand things. Even understanding numbers or trying to know more about one person, be it an entrepreneur or anyone else, I think you need curiosity. I think
Mm,
that's what I keep telling everyone. It's a very simple thing, but unless you are not curious, you won't be, going further to look for more information or to write also. So I think
mm,
curiosity is the
mm,
very, very basic thing that any journalist should have. And as
mm,
an author, I think,
mm,
uh, yeah, writing a book which is about almost 1 lakh word is very different from writing a story which is maybe 1,000 word or 1,500
mm,
word. I think
mm,
writing a book need a lot of patience. Also, the correct when you commit for a book, you commit it in a way that you are sold to the story that you are writing. Because
mm,
with the case of SIS, because I had known SIS, I had tracked SIS, and I knew some bit of the SIS story. It was very easy for me to be convinced about the book because I always knew that there
mm,
is a book in SIS. So choose a
mm,
subject and a character that you think has the detail and the richness for a book, and I think then it should be.
mm.
Of course, you have to love writing
Okay.
because writing 1 lakh word is not easy at all.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. So thank you so much, Mr. Thomas, for
Sure.
talking to me. And it was lovely talking to you and lovely
Thanks so much.
knowing the SIS story from you.
Thank
And
you so
I
much.
wish you all the best for your upcoming books, business stories,
Thank
and
you so
all
much.
your ventures.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much for having me. It was a delight talking to you, and thanks for
Yeah.
patiently listening to me. Thanks for your time.
No, no, it was a pleasure. Pleasure having you. Pleasure talking. Thank you.
Thank you.